It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of September 12th, 1997, and I know last time around was not a good week for movies, a Steven Seagal film, and then a film I never really heard of. At least this one is going to be at least better, because we at least have a better movie to talk about, and two other films that I've never seen before, so we should be able to make this one pretty quick as well. So we got three movies to look at today, so let's just go ahead and jump into the big new release of the weekend, and that is David Fincher's follow-up to his blockbuster, critically acclaimed film Seven. This is Michael Douglas, Sean Penn in the thriller, The Game. Of course, Michael Douglas plays this wealthy investment banker who's given this mysterious birthday gift by his brother, played by Sean Penn, and he participates in this game that integrates in strange ways with his everyday life. And as the lines between the banker's real life and the game become more uncertain, hints of this larger conspiracy begins to unfold. And like I said before, this is David Fincher's follow-up to Seven, which was this big, groundbreaking, critical, and financial blockbuster hit that put him on the map. And so there was a lot of high expectations for this movie when this fourth one came out. And the film did very well. It made more than its money. They made its budget back. It still made over $100 million worldwide, but it was still seen as middling box office considering what Seven had eventually become. Even though Seven made $100 million domestically, I think this one made about half of that domestically. Let me just double check here. About $48 million. So yeah, about half through it. But so yeah, it was, for some, maybe it was seen as kind of a step back. But in terms of the movie itself, it's nowhere near as good as Seven. But it's still a pretty damn good movie. It's still a really well-made film, and it works all the way through, except maybe the ending is a little bit of a cut. The ending is sure to be polarizing for a lot of people. Some people like it, other people do not like it, and it's really, like, me personally, when I first saw this movie, it really did get to me, but as I've seen this movie more and more, I go back and forth on it. Sometimes I really get into it, and so other times I can kind of see it coming a mile away, even though it'd be a while since I see films like that. But the movie itself is still really good. It's still a very, very solid film. I mean, Michael Douglas once again proves his worth as an actor. Like, he's still making a ton of great films in here. Sean Penn has a great role in here as well. The cast overall is great here. You have Deborah Kara Unger, James Rebhorn, Armin Marleau, even Charles Martinet. Like, Charles Martinet, of course, who is Mario in the Super Mario Brothers games. He's in this movie playing the father of Michael Douglas, which I did not notice that until I recently watched this movie again. It's just like, wow, that's Mario playing the father of Michael Douglas's character in this. That's pretty interesting casting when you really think about it. So that's something that I really didn't know about until now. And I didn't know Spike Jonze was also in the film as well. He was also in here too, playing this airbag EMT from Beltran. Yeah, like I said, as far as the movie itself goes, I think it works well enough. I think you have the benefit of having the writers John Puncato and Michael Ferris, who would later go on to write they originally wrote for Married with Children back in the 90s, but then they went on to, this was their first movie they ever wrote this was not their first movie they ever wrote together. I'm looking at the thing right here, it's because, like, what am I trying to say here? Like, I see all these other movies on here, but they also did The Net, is what I think I should be saying. They did The Net, they did Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, which is not a great Terminator 2 sequel, but it's still better than what Salvation and, not Salvation, Genesis and Dark Fate ended up becoming. I like Salvation. It's one of their early films where they became very notable. They had just done The Net, they've done this movie, and then the next film they did was Terminator 3, and then after that was Catwoman, and then that's where their career kind of took a downward spiral, because they then did Primeval, and then Surrogates, and not a whole lot of great movies after that, but overall the script I think is very good. In fact, maybe the ending doesn't work because it's those two writers and what they eventually would later go on to do. But David Fincher's directing and the cinematography overall does make this movie more than worth it, along with the performances, along with the twists and turns. If the ending had been a little bit more clear and a little bit more unique, and not make me question it every time I watch it, maybe I could have really appreciated this on the same level as something like Seven. But it's still a really good movie. It still works on a number of levels, even if it doesn't reach the peaks that Seven hit just 2 years prior to this. It does show the strength of David Fincher as a director, as he's later going on to show. in his career. Like after this, of course, he would do Fight Club after this, and I mean, he hasn't made a bad movie since Alien 3. All of his movies on here, I mean, you've got Fight Club, you've got Panic Room, you've got Zodiac, Curious Cases of Benjamin Button, Social Network, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, Mank. I mean, these are all quality films. He has not made a bad film since Alien 3, and the hope is that he will continue to stay that way, because looking at this filmography again, I thought there would have been a couple of misfires here and there, but no. He's been pretty solid all the way through. Probably the least enjoyable of these films was Panic Room, and even then, it wasn't a terrible movie. It was still a decent film, but this guy has been a pretty damn good director for a long, long time, and the hope is that he'll continue to be that way, because I really do not see a bad movie on his resume, and I'm hoping that this next film he does, The Killer, ends up being pretty good too, but I digress, though. The Game is still a really good movie. The ending just needed a little bit more work, but everything else about it is still really good. I'd highly recommend checking it out. If you love David Fincher's work and you have not seen this, you need to check this movie out. So, that's The Game. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here. A very interesting little film I found here called Different for Girls. So, yeah, you can definitely see why this is a very interesting movie. You basically have the story of two best friends who were very close friends during their school days, and then they go their separate ways, and then they meet up again, only to realize that one of the guys, Carl, has undergone gender changing surgery and is now named Kim, and they now have a romantic relationship together, and it's an interesting movie for a number of reasons, considering that this is 1996, and a movie like this involving a transgender woman is very unusual for the time period. Like, it's not a film that would have garnered a whole lot of attention, but it comes way before, groundbreaking films like Transamerica would come along, and that didn't come along until at least 10 more years after this, but I'd never seen this movie before, but judging from what I've seen from it, it's a very interesting concept, honestly. And I'm actually kind of curious to see how this actually does pan out. I don't know if this would be something that's actually kind of unique or to be something great or something spectacular, but the fact that this came almost 10 years before Transamerica really took off and really branched as a film that kind of opened the doors for transgender people in film and television. It's a very interesting concept here. I don't see anything from Rotten Tomatoes on here in terms of critical reviews for it, but it did win a grand prize at the Americas Award at the 1996 Montreal World Film Festival and garnered critical praise at the Sundance Film Festival. So, like I said, I don't really know for sure if this movie's any good or not, but it definitely has my curiosity just for the concept alone. I mean, this just seems like it's something that could be really interesting, could be very fun too, but it looks like a very interesting film. I'd be definitely curious to check it out one day, but yeah, wanted to cover that one there. So that's Different for Girls. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie we have here, and that is Bandwagon. So this is a film where you have four young men who hardly know each other, but here they are in the most volatile and tenuous of unions of man. They find themselves hurtling through an exhilarating adventure on a collision course with self-discovery or self-destruction. It's a rollicking rock and roll road trip that will take you to the starving edge of the independent music scene. You have Charlie, Eric, Tony, and Wynn. Like I said, they hardly know each other, but here they are. It's just basically telling me the same plot again. I've never seen this movie, so that's why I'm reading right off of IMDb, because I have no recollection of this movie whatsoever. It looks like a mix of both Spinal Tap and The Commitments. I don't know for sure if it's supposed to be a mockumentary or it's supposed to be like a straightforward scripted film. I mean, it doesn't really give you a good guesstimation of what it actually is. But it's directed by John Schultz, who gave us such wonderful classics like, he gave us Drive Me Crazy, like Mike, The Honeymooners, Aliens in the Attic, Judy Moody and the Not Bomber Summer, Adventures in Babysitting, the Disney Channel remake, A Christmas Prince, The Royal Wedding, and A Christmas Prince, The Royal Baby. Well, I guess you could probably say that even though I've never seen this movie, this is probably the best thing this guy's directed, because most of those movies are not very good. So I will go as far to say that this has got to be his best movie, because it can't get any worse than this film. It can't get any worse than it can't get any better than this. I mean, or whatever I'm trying to say here. Bottom line, I've never seen this movie, so I don't know if it's any good or not, but it's probably the best thing this guy's ever done, so there you go, Bandwagon. Oh, it's got Kevin Corrigan in it, too. That's one of the other things I noticed about it, but other than that, I have nothing else to say about this one, Bandwagon. Alright, so it was a little better episode than the last time around, but I guarantee you next week's going to be a lot better, the next week we look at, because there are a lot of good movies I see on this list here. Some movies we can talk about, including Kevin Kline in the hilarious comedy In and Out. We also have Wes Craven's Wishmaster, the Wes Craven produced Wishmaster, I should say. The brilliant L.A. Confidential by Curtis Hanson, the infamous 1,000 Acres. We also have The Myth of Fingerprints, Going All the Way, and The Long Way Home. But we have 7 movies to look at, but at least a couple of them I know are going to turn out to be pretty good movies to talk about. So that's going to be a good one next time around. So these last couple of ones that have been pretty mediocre for the most part, we'll put those aside. We'll go ahead and take a look at some really good stuff on the next episode. So with that said, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, I advise you please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.